Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. In this technical analysis of the stock market video, I call it Tension Builds. And I'm going to talk about what I'm seeing in the marketplace here that makes me think that's exactly what's going on. We're going to focus on the Dow Industrials this week, and then we're going to take a look at the VIX again. And then I want to focus on two of the big cap stocks, Apple and Microsoft, and we'll talk about those in a minute. All right, so this last week, we got a little bit more movement in the Dow Industrials than we did the other two major indices here. The Dow was down 374 points. Now, this is the lowest close of the last, 2, 4, 6 weeks, it looks like. And didn't quite close below the prior week low in here. Would have liked to have seen that, but made some progress. The S&P 500 was only down 12 points at the end of the week. Pretty compressed week in here. Very narrow trading range. We're just basically an inside the previous week range, slightly down type of candle. And then when you look over here at the NDX, it also was pretty compressed trading range. And it was only up, up 81 points. Now, I was going to point out that this is also the most compressed week in terms of the trading range, high to low, the most compressed week since November. No, I take that back. December 26th, the week of December 26, 2021. So the entire bear move, going all the way back into December of 21, this is the tightest that we've seen it. And it's kind of interesting where it's sitting right now on the top of this reaction coming off the October low. So that is the picture here on the side-by-side view. Let's take a look at the industrials against the transports. Again, the Dow down 374, the transports down 340 points. Now, after breaking that trend line, the transports pulled back up, basically went sideways, and now seem to be starting to progress to the downside. We still haven't taken out that low of that big break, that big move that we had here the week of the 23rd. But this is the lowest close since, let me get my crosshairs, it kind of helps guide me a little bit better. I mean, you got to go back all the way over here to the week of March 19th. We've closed below the rest of this trading that's occurred in here. The other thing I saw when you start to look at what's going on with this pattern, it almost looks like a little head and shoulders type pattern. And here's what I'm talking about. If you were to take and draw a trend line here, right across here, like that, that's what it looks like to me. So again, do we get a close down below this? Do we close below this low right here, 13,486? Yeah, I think we're heading in that direction, and the transports are leading the industrials to the downside. Okay, let's go back and take a look at the Dow Industrials. Actually, before I do that, I want to go back and point out one more thing, because I did talk about NDX. I just want to talk about right in here. Do you see these, the weekly ranges? So this last week, right here, the week of April 16th, the week of April 2nd. And when I say the week of, that means Sunday, April 2nd. That's the week that is starting, because this was May 7th, okay? So the week of May 7th, that's what this last week was. 3 of the last 6 weeks have been very, very compressed. When you look at the range in here, 63.29 points. Then we get tighter, 55.62 points, 55.36 points. All 3 of these ranges that I just talked about in here are the tightest since the week of November 14th, 2021. So the entire bull phase that we've been in on the S&P. Okay, we're seeing the tightest trading ranges right now, 3 of the last 6 weeks. So the tension is really starting to build in here. We're seeing it over here on NDX. This is going to get really, really interesting in here. All right, let's go and take a look at the Dow Industrials. Okay, so my back, yeah, we got the Dow. Here's the weekly. Here's the daily. On Friday, we were down a whopping 8.89 points. So it's almost like Friday duplicated Thursday's price action. And, we still have these two pivot points that are kind of like setting the stage in terms of, the scenarios. Here's the May 1st high, and here's the May 4th, Thursday, May 4th low. Okay, so we need to break the low here, the May 4th low, and show that we're continuing to move down in intermediate wave 3. Or we take out the May 1st high and it basically says, no, we're not done yet. I mean, the chances are we take out this high, then the chances are we're going to punch above this December 13th high. So we'll see what happens in here, but that's the way it looks right now. And, we're continuing to look for this to move to the downside. That is the Elliott Wave picture, the labeling that we've got. I mean, this was a clear expanding leading diagonal pattern for the Dow Industrials. The same thing on the S&P 500. Little bit different look on the NASDAQ 100. And also on the Russell 2000, which is also, leading to the downside. They've been the weakest all along. I want to take a look at the VIX. Here we go. And I want to look at this scenario right here. We'll come back to the weekly in a minute. So here's how we look on the daily. So we were up 0.10 on Friday. Nothing. We're not doing anything. We can't even stay closed above the 10-day moving average. We did for 3 days in a row in here into, what is this, the May 4th. Yeah, so this is, I just talked about May 1st and May 4th. Well, here's the May 4th high on the VIX, and here's the May 1st low on the VIX, just the opposite of what's going on with the price action in the Dow and the S&P, et cetera. Okay. Now, the other thing that looks a little interesting to me, it almost looks like a little bit of a diamond kind of cluster in here. Now, I always think of diamond tops, not necessarily as diamond bottoms, but this is kind of intriguing to me to see if anything like that really materializes. And here's, what I'm talking about is this kind of approach. Are we getting this? Well, it's not really going to matter how this looks unless we start to break out of it, which means that we should be doing this. Now, the other thing that's jumped out at me, happened to be watching a presentation the other day, and they were showing the weekly of the VIX. And what was interesting is they had the scale inverted, okay? And so this, these low readings were at the top up here. And when you reverse this, this really jumps out at you as a head and shoulders type of pattern. Now, I mean, you could sit back and say, well, yeah, it's the same kind of pattern as a head and shoulders, bottom reversal. But it's going to be really interesting to see if this materializes. Again, you always look at this and say, this could be, but, you need to get movement up like this, start taking out some of these prior highs and come up here to this trend line and break it. But it just kind of an interesting look to it. We'll see 1 week, one day, 1 week at a time. We'll see if anything materializes. But, I like to keep that in mind. I'm a picture kind of guy. I'm a pattern recognition kind of person. Okay, so that's what's going on right now with the VIX. Now, I want to take a look at, since I talked about the S&P and talked about the NASDAQ too, talk about 2 Dow stocks. I mean, here we got, Apple and Microsoft. And I'm going to show you this tweet that I came across by Charlie Bilello. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He put this out a week ago, okay? He's talking about the top 2 stocks in the S&P, Apple and Microsoft, now represent a combined 14% of the index, the highest weighting of any 2 companies with data going back 42 years, okay, back to 1980. It was IBM and AT&T back here in 1982, 10.9%. Microsoft and GE in 1999, 9.1%, moving into 2000. And then here, the 2007 into 2008, Exxon Mobil and Walmart, 7.7%. And here we are with the highest combination of the last 42 years, Apple and Microsoft at 14%. So pretty extreme, pretty interesting readings. Let's take a look at both of those. I'm going to look at Apple and look at Microsoft. So I want to look at the weekly. Okay. And here's the picture, a couple of things. Okay, so have I got the weekly? Yes, I do. Okay, so number one, look at the compression in here on the weekly chart. Very, very compressed. 3.59 points. 3.59 points for this last week on Apple from high to low. It is the smallest of the entire bear move from back over here at the high. Okay, it's the smallest, tightest trading range, most compressed trading range. And if you followed my videos, you know I talk about this a lot. Compression, then expansion, then compression and expansion. The market has a tendency to cycle that way. Stocks have a tendency to cycle that way. The other thing that's going on that's interesting is you look at how it is overbought. Let's go to the Elliott Wave picture that I've got, and you can see I've just got the RSI, and I'm using a 10-bar RSI. So here we are sitting at the most compressed trading range, and we're overbought. And this is the first time on a weekly basis that we're overbought on Apple since back here in December of 21, right before the peak in the market and in Apple. So find that very, very interesting situation. All right, let's take a look at Microsoft. Okay, here's Microsoft. We have the same thing going on. It is the most overbought on a weekly basis since back over here in November of 21 when it was peaking. Okay, and it is the most compressed, almost identical to Apple since November of 21. Tightest trading range, 6.91 points between high and low. And we're talking about a close at 308.97 right here. Okay, moved around a little bit in the aftermarket. 308.97, tightest trading range for the week since November 21. All of this move. So right now, we're starting to think, the markets, we've been waiting. The only reason the S&P is up is because of those 7 stocks, the big tech cap stocks. These two are the biggest. It's going to be really, really interesting if they start to roll over now. Now, I'm not seeing the price action break down just yet, but we could be getting very, very close. So I wanted to point this out to you in terms of what's going on with the two biggest players in the S&P 500. And of course, both of these are in the Dow Industrials. Both of these are in the NASDAQ 100. Okay, that's it for this week. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it a thumbs up on the channel. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit that little subscriber button down there. And if you'd like more of this information on a regular basis, head on over to joehenches.net. Check out the website, check out the membership. Everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you on the next video.